This is a trade that I made on NVDA. I shorted and took a huge loss. The thinking was that here was the high of the day, and it meandered for a little bit, and it reached here, and I'm thinking, okay, it reached here, there must be some resistance, and I thought it'll probably drop, but it didn't. So I got in here before essentially verifying that the stock is going to drop. And that was a miscalculation. And it went sideways essentially for a while. And then it started to ramp up and ramp up. And at this point, my account was drained considerably. So I decided to exit before getting into a deeper drawdown. And essentially, when I got out here, it essentially equated to the close. It went up and it went down, and so it essentially I could have held it to close, and it would have been very similar or even slightly better. The reality is, when I looked at this, the VWAP, this is the VWAP line. It meant that when it was up above VWAP, it's going to be bullish. And the fact that it had a this must be maybe 20 different candles that are strongly bullish, and I should have been aware that the sequence of candles will most likely will likely prevail in the bullish direction. So those are the factors that I should have considered. And the other part is when, after a while, approximately about 1 hour later, the stock decided to move back up, I should have concluded that my thesis is definitely incorrect. I should have exited at this point here. So those are the things that I need to keep in mind of next time I trade. And so the entry point, if I'm going to see this, I should have waited until I saw a more conclusive proof that the stock was going to reverse before making that thesis and using that singular thinking to make that judgment and entry turned out to be incorrect. And so I have to look at this particular situation, see how the support, how the resistance is being handled right here is exactly right there. So I could have waited until here, but it's difficult to do. It's difficult to wait until that time. And so once I wait at that particular time, at a point where it's actually making a dramatic move in one direction or the other direction, then I can make up my thesis and use that thesis. I had multiple points where I could have exited when it retested this position here, and the market attempted to drop, but it just did not, and recovered for a while, and then it started to take off. And so there were a few points that I could have exited here, and if I was lucky enough to hold on to this situation here, this could have been another position that I could have exited. So these are the things that I need to fine tune. Luckily for me, at this stage, the loss was not as significant as the other trade that I made. And so despite the fact that I wrote it essentially to the maximum loss per day, practically the loss was contained based on the number of shares that I bought, which essentially is about 50. And based on this stock, which is approximately about $400 a share, that's about 100 shares of a $200 stock. So these things are becoming more and more aware as I trade more and more, whereas in the past, I cannot recognize what these were.